Hello and welcome to your Mining Disrupt News Surge for Monday, February 5th, 2024. Today we've got two things that we're talking about. In the energy side of news, we've got the EIA going around and telling miners that they need to fill out a survey, and I've got some interesting takes on that one. And then we're going to take a quick look at what a 1%, a lowly 1% allocation into Bitcoin could look like. We're going to look at it from the big institutional player side of things, the BlackRocks, the Fidelities, the Schwabs, and what it might look like downstream for the likes of you and I, just putting 1% into Bitcoin. And I've got some actual numbers here and what that could look like. Before we get into the stories, I want to remind you that the Bitcoin Mining Disrupt Conference is happening in Miami, June 24th through the 26th in Miami. You can buy those tickets. You can see right down where my fingers there, right down there. Scan that QR code, get yourself some tickets, meet people in the industry, get hooked up with equipment, with information, anything to do with mining if you want to get in the game, and now is maybe a really time to get in the game. Check out Mining Disrupt 2024 in Miami. All right, now let's get into the numbers. Speaking of mining, we're going to talk about mining numbers. We're over here on timechaincalendar.com, and I believe the last time it did this, the price was around 20,000, something like that. Right now, we're sitting at a price of 43,167, which means that for a single US dollar, you can get 2,317 sats. And our average block time right now, we just had a difficulty adjustment. We've got an average block time of 8 minutes and 22 seconds. We will see how much this changes next week. All right, let's get into those stories. Energy and a 1% allocation into Bitcoin. The EIA is initiating a provisional survey of electricity consumption information from identified cryptocurrency mining companies operating in the United States. Quote, "We intend to continue to analyze and write about the energy implications of cryptocurrency mining activities in the United States." I did a quick Google search here, and according to their generative AI, which is experimental, and we're going to get into AI here in just a second, as of May 2022, Bitcoin is estimated to consume 150 terawatt hours of electricity annually. You know what we don't hear talked about? AI. AI uses a lot of electricity. Hey, by the way, this AI thing that everybody's so on board with, well, not everybody, but a lot of people are really on board with, certainly people in the government, I wonder why that is. Why aren't they decrying the energy usage of AI? Maybe it uses tiny, maybe it doesn't use all that much electricity. Maybe it's just having a single LED bulb on for an entire city, right? Is it that much? Is it just barely nothing? Well, it turns out, according to AI, which pulls this from the Spectrum article, current AI technology could use as much electricity as Ireland annually. The BBC estimates that AI could consume 85 to 134 terawatt hours of electricity each year by 2027. And over here, Marty Bent wrote a short little article. I'm not going to go through it. I'm just going to give you his overall take on this whole thing because he deals a lot with the mining industry. I think he is a miner, and he's from the TFTC podcast. He says right over here on his article, the Biden administration wants to create a registry of Bitcoin miners. Earlier today, the Biden administration announced an emergency data collection initiative targeted at Bitcoin mining operations in the U.S. via the U.S. Energy Information Administration, an independent sub-agency of the Department of Energy. And I'm going to show you his tweet here, which is kind of the TLDR. He says, "If you are an operator in the Bitcoin mining industry in the U.S., it is imperative that you ignore this survey and tell the EIA, the Department of Energy, and the current administration to fuck off." And just to wrap up on that point there, I've seen some people over on X talking about the usage of the Fourth Amendment to defend your private property. The Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution protects people from unreasonable searches and seizures. This includes arrests and the collection of evidence. If you are in the mining space and this is something that you care about, your privacy, your right to freedoms, then this is something that you should absolutely read up on and look into and educate yourself on to know what you can do to protect yourself and do whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to mine Bitcoin and you're paying for the electricity, then you're good. Now, moving on here, I want you to consider how much money you make in a month. You I assume, have some form of income. It's how you pay to exist. You've got a roof over your head. Again, I assume. You might be living in a tent. You might be tapping into a nearby Starbucks Wi-Fi to watch this. I don't know. If you are, then you still have some amount of money because you're buying stuff, you're getting snacks, whatever it is you're doing. Now, what I'm going to suggest here is not some massive allocation. All I'm suggesting here, and I'm going to cut over to British HODL, is 1%. A measly 1% of your income. Just a piddly 1%. Now, what would that look like? Now, admittedly, we're only talking $20 a month at that point. That's just $20 a month. But what would the return on that potentially look like over the next 5-10 years? Well, there's some factors that would need to come into play, but it could look way more juicy than you're thinking. Let's go to British.
We're talking about a 1% allocation. What happens if they go, we need 2%? All of this doubles. Right? And that's at today's values. We're also not looking at new entrants like Charles Schwab, which could add another $90 billion to this buying demand just from these top two asset managers, right? There's so much cash coming into this asset that has absolute finality of supply and a current active available supply today of maybe 1.8 million coins on exchanges.
Now, I encourage you to watch his whole video because what he's talking about here is, and he's really focusing on two main players. He's talking about BlackRock and Fidelity. And what he's talking about is over the next 5-10 years, he thinks it's reasonable. He's not saying this is going to happen. He's just he even starts at the very beginning by saying, hey, it's Moon Boy math time. So it is a little bit speculative for sure, but it's not crazy speculative. It's not like, what if Fidelity and BlackRock and all of the multi-trillion dollars of investment money in the world just put everything into Bitcoin? No, he's not doing anything like that. He's being extremely conservative and saying, what if BlackRock and Fidelity, and those are the ones that he focuses on. He mentions a couple others, Schwab and whatever, but he focuses on those right there. What if they were to aim for a 1% of their total assets under management into Bitcoin? And between those two, you're looking at something like 12 to 15 odd trillion dollars. And the math that he comes up with is that influx of cash from those two players would push the price of Bitcoin to 1.29, nearly $1.3 million per coin. I mentioned at the outset of this that what if you put 1%? What if you put 1%? We're talking about $20 a month, just over $20 a month, about $21 a month. That's almost that's like what most big cities pay for an hour of work. 1 hour of work in a place like Portland or LA or New York or Boston, some of these bigger cities. It's about what you get for a single hour of work. If you put that 1 hour of work into Bitcoin each month, I'm talking about 1 hour of work a month over a year, and the price went up, let's say it was double what it's at now. So you're putting in half as much and the price is double what it is. It's still $3,500. That's a pretty good return on your investment of $20 a month. 5-10 years down the road, you're looking at $3,500. So that's what I want to leave you with. That $20 a month into Bitcoin could lead you down the road, if we're going super conservative here, could lead you to $3,500. And that's a pretty good return on investment. I don't know anything else at all that has, I'm not going to say a guaranteed ROI that looks like that, but about as guaranteed as you can get without something being guaranteed. I don't know that is something that looks that attractive where we have the finality of supply. We know. And one other thing, he's going off of the full 21 million coins, which won't even happen until 2140. So he's using even numbers that are, the prices are even more than that. Go watch his whole video so you can see him break it down, and stay tuned here for next week's News Surge, where I will break down what that thing is that's guaranteed to happen, which will 100% have some impact on the price. See you next time.